This is CBC Here and Now.
Should the province become an exporter of LNG? Opinions are mixed. More about what the project would look like coming up.
Messy start to the weekend, but the sun will peek out for some of us.
I'm carrying a balance on, my phone bill, my internet bill. It comes to either filling up the tank with gas or putting 20 bucks in, you know what I mean?
It's got to come from somewhere.
It's costing much more to heat your home, which for some means putting dreams on the back burner.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Chrissy Holmes in for Anthony tonight.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. Now those stories in just a few moments, but first, this March has been the deadliest month of the pandemic in this province.
New numbers today from Public Health reveal that 9 people have died since Wednesday's update, bringing the province's death toll to more than 100 people. 7 of those deaths were in the eastern region, while another 2 were in central. It seems COVID is hitting the elderly hardest. One of the 9 deaths was in a person over the age of 70. The remaining 8 individuals were all over the age of 80. There are now 33 people in hospital due to COVID-19, which is a new record. 6 people are in intensive care.
Last week's sudden death in St. John's is now being considered a homicide. Police say they have a suspect, though no charges have been laid. Police were notified just before 11 p.m. last Wednesday. An 82-year-old woman was pronounced dead at the scene in the Mitchell Court area near the center of the city. Her death was believed to be suspicious, so the RNC's Criminal Investigation Division was called in. Police say its homicide investigation remains active, and anyone with information is asked to contact the RNC or Crime Stoppers.
Well, in other news, furnace oil went up this morning, and that means the cost of heating your home has gone up as well. In the past month, that price has spiked 37%. And as Here and Now's Garrett Berry reports, for some, it means dreams and plans are now out of reach.
For a young couple in Gander, this looks a lot like a dream home.
This is the first time we've ever actually rented, a nice place.
It's not a mansion, but it's not a basement either. Just big enough to stretch out.
We figured we're both pretty established in our careers now, so we'd get something nice so we're not squandering money.
When he moved in, the math added up.
We were pretty ambitious last year, maybe a little too ambitious, looking back now in hindsight.
Because now it costs a lot more to fill this tank.
Before the spike, it was somewhere around the $250 range. After the spike, it was around $400.
Between heat and light, it means he's carrying balances on all his other bills. Even with 2 incomes, it's just not enough.
We've thought about selling a car to cut back on insurance costs and gas costs. We've got an extra bedroom, so we're thinking about taking in a boarder. It's either live your life the way you want to live it, or sacrifice your privacy and your we'll say luxuries.
So it looks like the life they were planning is being put on hold.
We had a big plan to come back to Gander and start saving a bit of money and maybe try to make a down payment on a house, and it's just not happening the way the future of Newfoundland is looking.
064.
For others, it's a fight to stay in your home.
I know my mother uses home heating oil, and shortly after Christmas she filled up her tank, over $800.
Seniors on a fixed income
G47
are getting hit too.
I mean, she's hard and fast on 92 years old, and to come up with on old age security, and that's all she has is old age security, to come up with $800, and that's not talking about food or medical expenses.
Let's look at the math. If you use oil, you may have a 900-liter tank. Last year, that would have cost you $787 to fill. Not cheap, but this year, that same tank cost $1,524. Now, fill-ups are fewer and far between.
Everybody's just getting the bare minimum now they can get.
From the delivery truck, they see how tough it has become.
We're getting a lot of people running out of fuel. Because the $300, they're just not getting it. Like $300 this year and $300 versus last year is quite a difference.
That extra price does not mean business is going better. In fact, it's just the opposite.
You know, one day last week we bought it and sold it for the same price, so we actually lost money to put trucks on the road. Well, it's a roll of the dice for us, you know. For us, we don't know what we're paying for furnace oil from one day to the next.
They, like everyone else, say they are hoping for some stability and relief. Garrett Berry, CBC News, Gander.
Well, the Premier says the federal request to delay offshore oil exploration land bids shouldn't be seen as a signal of a shutdown in the oil and gas industry. Premier Andrew Furey says he's hopeful the federal environment minister will green light the proposed Bay du Nord offshore oil project. Here now's Mark Quinn reports.
In a move that the Canada Newfoundland Offshore Petroleum Board says has never happened before, Canada's Natural Resources Minister recently requested a 90-day delay in the offshore land bids process. Groups that represent oil industry companies say delays cause uncertainty and erode the confidence of investors. Yesterday, Federal Natural Resources Minister Jonathan Wilkinson said the delay was made to ensure oil exploration isn't done in marine protected areas. Today, the Premier said it's nothing to worry about.
It's fair for Minister Wilkinson to have a little bit extra time, but ultimately this bid process falls to us as according to the Accord. And as I said, and as Minister Parsons said, and as I have echoed, I'm optimistic that will continue to go ahead.
Then there's the other Ottawa delay. The federal environment minister was recently given 40 days to either greenlight or reject the Bay du Nord oil project. Furey believes it must be approved.
Well, right now, ethically, morally, given the geopolitical tensions that are occurring around the world, I think there's an imperative that we really look to the federal government to ensure that this is going to be approved. There's no question about our support. It's unwavering. I've said it to every minister. I'll continue to fight for it.
But where this federal minister stands has not been made quite so clear. Newfoundland and Labrador's representative in the federal cabinet says he can't say what he's been saying there.
There's a secrecy to cabinet. So this is how, basically this is how it works. I get to go into that room and speak my mind, and we can all scream and shout, but when we come out, we got to agree. And that allows us in that room to speak our minds freely and openly without coming out and having to pay a certain price, and oh my God, and now, this is the government's divided. This is the way every cabinet works.
O'Regan did note that over the past couple of years, the federal government has spent hundreds of millions of dollars supporting this province's oil industry. The federal environment minister is expected to announce his decision on Bay du Nord by mid-April. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, it was an absolutely beautiful start to the day out there thanks to a big ridge of high pressure, lots of sunshine in place, but this area of low pressure to the west is bringing some of that cloud cover, and we saw that progress further. There's that cloud cover there. You saw that move in earlier this afternoon and already seeing some flurries. Looks like some ice pellets are showing up, whether that's actually happening down in the southwest or not, but it definitely will as we head through the night tonight. And the other thing is that the winds are going to ramp up. Right now, looking at a beautiful night, not a whole lot of winds out there right now, about 11 kilometers per hour. You can see not too many waves out there at all. But as we head through the night tonight, we are going to see those winds ramp up, particularly in the southwest. We're still looking at those gusts around 100 kilometers per hour. Even the Wreck House area could see those gusts in excess of 160 kilometers per hour. Most of us will be seeing those gusts by tomorrow afternoon between 60 to 80 kilometers per hour, and eventually we will see those winds ease. Here's a look at the current warnings right now. We've got some freezing rain warnings, snowfall warnings, winter storm warnings. I'll break the full forecast down for you when I come back.
Well, new documents shed light on the severity of the allegations against Constable Noel Late. The RNC officer is being investigated by the province's Serious Incident Response Team for allegations of abuse against her partner. Late has been charged with choking her partner on multiple occasions dating back to September of 2020. Other allegations include assault with a cardboard box and assault causing bodily harm. Those allegations have not yet been tested in court. Late has been with the RNC since 2016 and has been placed on administrative duty. The Pasadena woman is scheduled to appear in court next month. This is the first time CERT NL has laid charges since legislation passed in 2021, giving it the power to do so.
We have an update now to a story we brought you last night about a lawyer facing charges of sexual assault. Now, he wants to remain anonymous to avoid damaging his reputation, but earlier this week, a judge ruled that a publication ban on his name would be lifted. Now, the man filed an application to have that decision stayed at Supreme Court in St. John's this morning. He wants time for a possible appeal to the Supreme Court of Canada. And the judge agreed and extended the publication ban, at least for now. It could take weeks or months for the country's top court to decide whether it will hear the case. Well, for the first time in 50 years, enrollment is up in the province's public school system. The number of students from kindergarten to grade 12 had been declining for years until now. The Department of Education was predicting the number to be 500 less than last year, but it's actually up by 1,000 students, and that hasn't happened since 1972. Back then, there were more kindergarten to grade 4 students in the province than all current K-12 students combined. The education minister says it's something to be celebrated.
It is in part people moving home from other provinces. COVID showed that Newfoundland and Labrador is a great place to live, and more companies are allowing people to work remotely. It's due to immigration, it's due in part to the Afghan refugees we've seen. So there's a combination of reasons.
Memorial University is going electric, at least in part. The provincial and federal government announced $10.5 million in joint funding to replace one of the oil-burning boilers on campus with 2 electric boilers. There will still be 3 oil-powered boilers in use, but MUN says the change should reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 30,000 tons every year. The 5 boilers will power not only MUN's campus, but also the Health Science Centre.
Basically, what we're doing is the same as what we've done or offered to do with people's homes. We're taking Memorial off oil and putting them on electricity. So it's over $10 million fund, combined federal provincial spend, that will allow Memorial to transfer its energy source from oil to electricity, the equivalent to taking 6,000 to 9,000 cars off the road.
A local company hopes to soon put the province on the list of LNG producers. They still have to submit an environmental impact statement, but supporters and critics are already discussing the benefits and risks. Here now's Henrika Wilhelm explains.
If the project was given the green light by the province, it would aim to produce its first LNG in 2030 and then export it to Europe. LNG is short for liquefied natural gas, which means exactly that. It's a liquid form of natural gas that was chilled to minus 160 degrees and compressed by a factor of 600 to 1.
Think of a beach ball being reduced to the size of a ping pong ball.
The project includes a central gas hub in the Jeanne d'Arc Basin that connects existing oil operations, a 600-kilometer-long pipeline that leads to Arnold's Cove in Placentia Bay, and processing facilities there. It promises up to 1,500 jobs during peak construction and about 400 permanent direct jobs once it's up and running. For the town of Arnold's Cove, a reason to support the project.
We are the economic hub of a lot of the areas here when construction work is on the go. So there's a lot of people, although the population's not big, we have a lot of people that work in this area. We're fairly prosperous, I guess, is that kind of a way. But like everywhere, we're looking to grow our town and get new, younger people to live here.
For Miabugek First Nation, jobs are also a benefit of the project. The First Nation also has a small equity stake in the project. The goal? Self-sufficiency by increasing its own source revenue.
It creates employment for our people that are on reserve or off reserve. And we've been fairly successful with that. This project is looking at the 7 generations to come. We have to find a way to have home source revenue to be able to take for the growing population that we have.
But jobs are also the focus for FFAW Unifor, the province's fisheries union, which says jobs in the fishery industry are at risk due to the project.
This is a sustainable resource we have in the fishery. It's growing, our best year ever last year in the history of our province. To go and put in extremely risky infrastructure, like pipelines in this environment, or put these oil and gas installations on the best fishing grounds in the world, I think that's a stretch too far.
Risks that will be mitigated, says the company. Options to stop the flow of gas or lower the pressure in the pipeline will be in place, along with satellite monitoring. Power believes the project will benefit the province.
We have a tremendous resource that we need to develop for the sake of our province and to generate wealth and create employment.
But environmental advocates are critical of the project and say this is the time to shift away from oil and gas.
This is about increasing natural gas production in our offshore, and the price tag of that in terms of carbon is very high. Fossil fuel companies have put in a lot of effort to try to repackage natural gas so that natural gas becomes one of those fossil fuels that we can continue expanding. It's oil and gas and coal, all of our fossil fuels that are responsible for emissions that are causing the climate crisis.
Natural gas has half the carbon intensity of coal. If we do nothing else but help to shut down coal plants around the world by using natural gas, we will have a huge positive impact on lowering global emissions.
But Carter doubts those economic benefits will be as great as promised and that the demand for LNG will soon ebb away.
Climate policy is now turning its focus very clearly on fossil fuel supply and demanding that countries start that wind down. This is the future of climate policy. This is the future of how we're going to be thinking about dealing with the climate crisis in the future. And Newfoundland and Labrador is going in the wrong direction.
Environment Minister Davis has appointed an environmental assessment committee which will draft guidelines for an environmental impact statement. The public will soon get a chance to voice their opinion on the project. The period for public comment is expected to open in late April. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, now to Labrador. Five-Wing Goose Bay has been busier than usual lately. Residents in the area have likely seen and heard fighter jets flying overhead.
And it's because of a new NORAD effort protecting Canadian airspace. The CBC's Rafsan Farjug Jugal has more.
Operation Noble Defender was in full swing last week, securing Canadian airspace across the North Arctic region. The operation was part of NORAD, the North American Defense Command. Operation Noble Defender was preparing NORAD to intercept any foreign objects that may come into North American airspace. In collaborating with the United States Air Force, multiple bases across Canada took part in the operation, and the Five-Wing base in Happy Valley Goose Bay also played a pivotal role.
Five-Wing Goose Bay is a critical resource in terms of the role that it plays within a NORAD environment. So as a forward operating location, Goose Bay creates the ability for the commander of the Royal Canadian Air Force and the commander of NORAD to project forces into the north of Canada. Goose Bay is one of 5 forward operating locations that are utilized in that regard, but it is the only forward operating location that is manned 24/7.
North American airspace covers a large area, so it can be challenging to protect it all.
Once they've detected the presence of an approaching aircraft or system, to interrogate that target, to try to identify what it is. Whether that's by interrogating a transponder on the aircraft, cross-compiling against filed flight plans or those sorts of things, or engaging them through radio voice communications where that's available, they will do that. If they're unable to identify the target, in that case, they will launch fighter aircraft that will go forward and visually confirm what the asset is that is approaching North America, and then those fighters will attempt to communicate using their radio equipment with those assets to confirm their intent. Once the intent is confirmed, then the NORAD commander, through his command and control environment, will determine how to prosecute those targets, whether it's escorting them away from North America space or attempting to destroy a threat that they're unable to communicate with, such as a long-range cruise missile or something like that.
NORAD's operation took place at a time when the world is watching Russia invade Ukraine, and thoughts of war and defense are in the minds of many. But NORAD's operation was planned well before the war. Some of the planes in the five-wing base has since gone to Halifax, awaiting their next operation. In the meanwhile, the base in Happy Valley Goose Bay remains ready to protect Canadian airspace.
Rafsan Farouk Jugo, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
Well, the clouds have moved in now. We do have some freezing rain on the way for most of the Avalon and as well as southern areas of the island. I'll have the full forecast coming up.
If you've driven past this mysterious blue octagon in the middle of this Paradise Roundabout, you've probably asked yourself, what is it going to be? We're going to find out what it is and the larger story behind why it's important. That's coming up.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Well, the sunshine was glorious today in St. John's. I hope it's going to be sticking around on the weekend, at least a little bit of the weekend, some sunshine.
Yeah, for some of the weekend, actually, you know, even though we've got a stormy start to it, it does look like things will improve for some of us on Saturday, and a little quicker than others for sure. Let's take a look at the temperatures today. That sunshine sure felt nice, only around 1 degree today in St. John's, but obviously felt a bit warmer, 2 degrees in Gander, 3 in Corner Brook. But look at those temperatures over Nova Scotia. 4 to 9 degrees even. Those are the temperatures that are heading our way as we head through tomorrow and even into Sunday as well, where we're going to see some of those warmer temperatures. So current temperatures right now, they've dropped quite a bit, about to -2 in St. John's, feels more like -6 with a bit of a wind chill. And then temperatures as you head towards the west coast, above 0 right now in Corner Brook, hovering around -1 for Port aux Basques, and then those temperatures up across Labrador as well, anywhere from about -1 to +1. A little bit cooler for Nain. You're sitting around -4 right now. Not a whole lot of wind chill there for you either. So what's going on right now? We've got some rain, some mixing showing up for eastern areas of Nova Scotia, and that is what's headed our way. We're already seeing some snow and even potential for some ice pellets showing up right now for the southwest. And looking at the current look at Port aux Basques, you could see definitely seeing all of that snow. And that will generally be the story as we head through the night tonight, where we're going to see most of the activity, snowfall, form as we head through the overnight and then continue to push further north and further east. Now, most areas through the overnight will be hovering near or below 0, and the winds are really going to ramp up. They're going to be out of the east at this point, between 40 to 70 kilometers per hour, but those exposed areas will likely see those gusts maybe 80, even 100 kilometers per hour if you're prone to those southeasterlies. Now, up across Labrador, quiet night for you. A few flurries possible for Lab City, but overall temperatures dipping into the minus double digits for Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and then even more so for coastal areas of Labrador. So that area of low pressure prompting a number of warnings, I should say. Wind warnings down for the southwest. Corner Brook, Gross Mourne, you're looking at winter storm warnings, and then points eastward are seeing those snowfall warnings. So southern areas of the island and the Avalon are looking at freezing rain warnings, as well as some blowing snow advisories for the northern peninsula west, as well as along the strait there. So it is going to be a little bit of a messy system. Temperatures tomorrow are going to warm up, sitting around 7 degrees for St. John's, 2 to 3 degrees through central, and then northern Newfoundland, you're looking at your temperatures hovering around the 1 degree mark. You're going to stay on the cold side of this with the snow continuing through a good chunk of the afternoon. So let's time that out. The model's picking up very well on what's happening right now, even seeing some mixing in there showing up on the radar. So as we get into the overnight, into the early morning hours, most should see that transition through to ice pellets and or freezing rain. A good chunk of the Avalon will be seeing freezing rain as well as we head through Saturday morning. North of that, again, you're looking at mainly snow. Northern Peninsula, you'll see that snow develop as we get into, say, mid-morning. And then eastern areas of the island are going to see that change over to rain. And then by noon, maybe 1 o'clock, the Avalon should actually clear out. We should see some sunshine through the day, although the winds will be a bit brisk. They'll stay around 60 to 70 kilometers per hour out of the east, and then eventually, as the afternoon rolls through, those winds will die down. So it actually does look like a fairly nice afternoon for eastern and southern areas of the island. Snow will continue for northern peninsula as well as Labrador for most of the evening on Sunday, or rather Saturday, and eventually we'll see those clearing skies as we get through the day on Sunday. Then another round of some either rain or mixing will move in as well, which could be heavy at times as we get into Sunday night rather. As far as snowfall amounts go, we're looking at about 10 to 20 centimeters in those snowfall warnings, significantly less, so that gradient drops off quite a bit, about traced to 5 centimeters of snow, but it is the freezing rain really that we're talking about. So most significant freezing rain, between 5 to as much as 15 millimeters of freezing rain is possible. This may not, it likely won't accumulate to that much, but that risk is certainly still there. But again, by Saturday afternoon, looking like a beautiful day. So that's a look at the forecast for your Saturday. We'll look ahead when I come back. Well, if you've driven past this peculiar blue structure in the middle of this Paradise roundabout, you've probably asked yourself, what is it going to be? Well, it is a symbol of an even more mysterious story, which Paradise Town Councillor Elizabeth Laurie is joining us to tell us more about right now. So, Councillor Laurie, what is it?
Well, thank you, Christy, for coming out today and finding out. Here at the intersection of Topsail Road and McNamara Drive is our roundabout feature that is highlighting, I guess, the history of Octagon Castle. Octagon Castle was built by Professor Charles Daniel. It was built on the shores now known as Octagon Pond, but it is a representation of what the actual castle looked like. Professor Daniel was an eccentric character, I've learned, and I think it's a great structure.
And Professor Daniel is definitely somebody we want to find out more about. So for that, we're going to head to Mon.
All right, so everything we know about Professor Daniel lives in a box here at Mon. Colleen Quigley has been kind enough to pull out the box. Okay, what do we know about this mysterious character?
Well, I think what we know about Professor Daniel, how do we even pronounce his name? So I did a little bit of digging, and I found he claims his story is that he was born in 1830 in Baltimore. Then in 1844, he moved to Philadelphia as a dancer, was part of a dance troupe. So when he was 14 years old to when he was 18, he was a dancer. Then when he was 19, he moved to Chicago, where he opened up a dance studio. Then he came to visit Newfoundland frequently, and he decided in the 1870s, 60s, 80s to actually stay here and move here. So he had a real vision, and his vision initially was to have the most opulent, extravagant hotel, ballroom, kind of like a convention center now, like the biggest with the best food, best champagne. He was looking at top quality, high-end entertainment. That's what he wanted to bring to Newfoundland. So I kind of say he was bringing fabulousness to Newfoundland. So when we talk about his costumes, he also was doing things like this. He created this amazing costume himself. This is the professor as Neptune with a fully made costume that he did completely himself.
What else was he doing here?
Well, he opened several restaurants, and he also was teaching dance lessons, as I say. And then he moved he had a restaurant pavilion in Kitty Vitty, and he moved from Kitty Vitty out to Irving Station, which we know now as Paradise. And he built his castle at Octagon Pond.
What do we know about this castle? Like, what did it look like?
Well,
why did he want to do an octagon even?
I don't know why he wanted to do an octagon. He was very performative, very dramatic. Even his regular letters to the newspapers, since he's been a resident here, just scream drama. He just was over the top with everything. So what more dramatic than an octagonal building? So this was the place outside of St. John's to come for a high-end restaurant meal and an experience. So he had a ballroom in here, he had a dining room, he had a smoking room, he had separate chambers that were thematically designed and decorated, and he could comfortably fit over 6,000 people in Octagon Castle. There were, in 1899, the records show that over 10,000 people came through Octagon Castle. He built his brand around the mystery of his life, and he built up a real fervor towards his death. He also converted the top floor of this castle to his mortuary chamber.
What?
And that would be a big event for him to bring the guests to the chamber, which he would unlock. And in that chamber was his, as you can see, extravagantly decorated, and with a casket that is credited to him. He would actually get inside this casket as part of his entertainment for his guests. Next to his casket, there was also a framed object that was sealed in a frame that had all of the directions on what to do with his body.
In the back of this frame will be found full instructions to be followed immediately after my death.
What's on his feet, do you think?
Some kind of fabulous slipper.
A golden slipper. Wow. Over 10,000 people attended his funeral procession in May 1902. 10,000 people. It actually got so out of hand that it almost became a riot.
So what happened to Octagon Castle?
Well, I'm glad you asked. After he died in 1902, all of his material goods, his costumes, and his assets all went to his heir, Frederick Brazel. But unfortunately, just like what happened to his very first business in St. John's, in 1915, unfortunately, the fire took it away.
I will never drive past that blue octagon in Paradise the same ever again. Thank you so much for telling us the story behind it.
Perfect. And I hope we all think of that roundabout as a dance, a choreographed dance. I think that's how he would love to think about the castle being in the center of a mechanized choreography.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is an amazing and bizarre story.
It is. And the mystery kind of continues, too.
Yeah, I understand the staff at the archives went hunting through American records for evidence on Charles Daniel. So what happened there?
Carolyn? No such family name exists in that lifespan. They couldn't find anything. So there's even more to this story, and big thanks to CBC's William Ping for cracking that mystery open for us. And if you want to check out more, you can read more in his article, which is on our website, cbc.ca/nl.
Great story.
Ever since the election, I kind of figured that the NDP wouldn't be in a hurry to have an early election. And I don't think anybody would be in a hurry to have an early election. So this kind of came, for me, it kind of came out of left field a bit.
Well, the recent marriage between the federal Liberals and NDP caught a lot of people off guard, including some local MPs. We'll hear from MP Ken McDonald coming up.
Welcome back to Here and Now. A big political story of the week has to do with the arrangement between the federal Liberals and the NDP. And here we are in Kelligrews with the MP for this riding, and that's Ken McDonald. So Ken, welcome home, first of all.
Appreciate that, sir. I love being home.
I know you just got in today, so I appreciate you making the time. So what's going on in federal politics? Did you see this wedding coming?
I didn't. I ever since the election, I kind of figured that the NDP wouldn't be in a hurry to have an early election. And I don't think anybody would be in a hurry to have an early election. So this kind of came, for me, it kind of came out of left field a bit. I didn't expect this so-called union or whatever. I know the Conservatives like to paint it as a coalition, but that's a little bit disingenuous, because for one thing, in coalition governments usually the other party has people sitting at the cabinet table.
Yep.
And that's not the case here.
True.
No NDP members are sitting as members of cabinet. I think the NDP brokered a deal to help move a couple of things along that they want to see done. One is pharmacare, which we've promised as well, and some governments in the past have promised it, but they want a dental plan to be included in that pharmacare type scenario. So I think it's a great thing to do. I'm in favour of doing a pharmacare and a dental plan, because two of them are so important, and it actually affects the most vulnerable people in our society, whether it's people who live in social setting, social housing and everything else, and live on income support. I mean, try getting by to see a dentist and the kind of money they get.
I know we have spoken many times on radio and here on television about your support for the offshore oil industry. You know that Bay du Nord has been delayed, a decision on that. You know that now the ability to bid on new exploration, that's going to take more time. That's been delayed. The message from the industry here is, I think one of deep concern. And I wonder where you stand on that, particularly if Bay du Nord is not given the green light.
I think it'd be horrendous if Bay du Nord don't get the green light. Now, there are members of the Liberal caucus who probably don't want Bay du Nord to go ahead. But my argument is, if this doesn't go ahead, what do? Right? It's the cleanest oil in the world. And the tap is not going to be shut off tomorrow or the next day. And I think if we can put cleaner oil on the market, it is a good thing for everyone.
Yeah, but see, if that argument was carrying any weight, wouldn't it have been approved by now? Because what I guess my real question is, where does Ken McDonald, where do actually all the Liberal MPs stand if Bay du Nord does not get the green light?
Well, I think they stand where they stand now, but I think everyone, and I'll include the Conservative MP from Newfoundland and Labrador, all 7 of us are fighting hard and speaking up loudly and clearly that we want to see this project move ahead. Right. And not just for the cleanness of the oil that's out there, but for the jobs and the economic benefit that it'll bring to this province. I mean, we don't have a lot of options when it comes to industry. We haven't got car manufacturing plants. We haven't got a big logging industry. We just don't have other industries. Right. We have some mining, yes, in Labrador and some in the Newfoundland, but the oil and gas industry has changed the whole perspective of economic stability for Newfoundland and Labrador.
Last question for you. So let's say things don't go the way you want and the oil industry here wants. Bay du Nord does not go ahead. Do you stay in the Liberal Party, and how difficult will it be for Liberal MPs to be elected in this province if that project does not go ahead?
I think it would put a harder strain on Liberal MPs to get elected in this province, at least for the first election after. We have a tendency of doing one thing one election and maybe something else the next one, but I will stick to my morals on this one. Others will have to speak for themselves. I'm not saying what I'll do the next day if it don't go ahead, but I'll certainly keep fighting to get it done. And I do believe at the end of the day this project is going to get the green light. Right. And will be approved. That's the feeling I'm getting. I hope it's going to go.
Really appreciate your time again. Good to see you from a distance. Thank you very much.
You too. You too.
Bye.
Welcome back. Well, when it comes to Parkinson's, Pragma is trying to make a difference. It took home top prize this week at the Mel Woodward Cup for early stage startups.
The co-founders, a PhD student and an entrepreneur living with the disease, say that they'll use their winnings to keep moving forward.
Right, first things first, Gord will start the body scan.
Measurement finished.
Our company is Pragma, and we have actually developed and designed a remote patient monitoring system for Parkinson's disease patients.
This all came about a few years back in 2019 when I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and it occurred to me that I needed to do something to try and make this disease more bearable.
So next, Gord is going to measure his hands.
Don't move. Hand is in good position.
In office, a clinician will actually run through motor and non-motor tests with a patient. So the goal of our software is to actually be able to do that from the comfort of your home or from a local office.
Turn body to the left. Start tapping left foot.
What I learned as I went through some of the issues,
Test finished.
it's a very subjective assessment, and in fact 25% of the cases are misdiagnosed, which is right off the bat a serious problem. And also, you only get to see your clinician once a year, and in some cases there's a 4-year waiting list just to get diagnosed. So I said, geez, there are problems here that need to be solved.
Start walking.
In office, when a clinician runs through these tests, they typically only get a 10-minute appointment or so. And the goal of this is to be able to go through the entire test that they would run through, start to finish, which typically takes about 45 minutes. So a clinician wouldn't have time to do that in office. But they would be able to review the data online at a later time from using the system and be able to see where a patient is truly struggling to adjust medication as needed. So whenever Gord finishes the test, the software actually gives him an instant score reading. So he has 0 for his gait, and he has a 2, which is a mild, for freezing of gait when he's turning. He does have a little bit of a pause.
Test finished.
We now have a minimum viable product that we have developed and designed that is working, and we have future plans to do a clinical trial in the next 6 months. So with that clinical trial, we'll be able to test it with patients across the country, and hopefully the clinical trial will then prove the viability of the software.
The Mel Woodward Cup has been an amazing event for us. It's a launching pad for everything else that we can look forward to in the future.
I've already received emails of people reaching out with opportunities that we are so excited to take on, startup competitions, angel investors, and everything else. So this Mel Woodward Cup is going to push us so much further in our game plan.
Well, it's time to find out who's celebrating. Congratulations to Edward and Hilda Moss in Gambo, who are celebrating 50 years of marriage today. Happy 55th wedding anniversary to Frank and Diane Manston of Labrador City. Happy anniversary to Lester and Grace Himes. They're celebrating their 65th anniversary. Happy 56th anniversary to Judy and Michael Nolan of Chamberlains. Happy 60th anniversary to Bob and Phyllis Paddock from Grand Falls, Windsor.
Wishing Gilbert and Lillian Thomas of St. John's a happy 59th wedding anniversary. Congratulations to Gus and Loretta Howell of Red Bay, who are celebrating their 56th wedding anniversary. Happy 60th anniversary to Frank and Jean Pilgrim from Pasadena. Happy 53rd wedding anniversary to Bill and Marion Companion from Corner Brook. And wishing Rita and Jim Pollard a happy 54th anniversary. Love from family and friends.
And it's a golden anniversary for Roger and Sharon Learning of Mount Pearl. Congratulations. Best wishes to Ephraim and Dot Hiscock of Trinity, who are celebrating their 56th anniversary tomorrow. And here is an incredible anniversary. John and Holly Caines in Corner Brook are celebrating 79 years of marriage today. They're together at the Mountain View Retirement Center. Congratulations to you both. Happy anniversary to Robert and Florence Trowbridge of Port au Bras, who will celebrate their 55th wedding anniversary on Sunday. Happy 55th wedding anniversary to Marie and Gerard Walsh of Placentia, now living in St. John's.
Happy 51st anniversary this Sunday to Peter and Juliet Farrell from Marystown. Happy 55th anniversary today to Jesse and Jeanette Best of New West Valley. Reverend Jack and Marie Mercer of Mount Pearl are celebrating their 70th wedding anniversary coming up tomorrow. They've spent 55 years ministering together. And now on to some birthdays. Happy 93rd birthday to Rowena Gale. Love from family and friends.
Wishing Daphne Edison a happy 90th birthday. Mabel Oxford of Lansomore is celebrating her 94th birthday. Happy birthday to Spencer Cutler, who just turned 90 years of age. Wishing Delphina Castle a happy 92nd birthday. She's in Corner Brook. Birthday greetings going out to Vivian Kendall, who celebrates her 100th birthday tomorrow. She's from Ramia, but now lives in Twillingate.
And another milestone. Happy 100th birthday to twins, Alice Clark, who lives in Paradise, and Mabel Daw. Happy 94th birthday to Belinda Hutchings of Cowhead, now living in Bombay. Birthday greetings as well to Isabel Mullally of Northern Bay, who is turning 90. Wishing Peter Hall, Sr. from Newtown, Bonavista Bay, a happy 93rd birthday. That's coming up tomorrow. And birthday greetings to Marie Stead of Musgravetown, who turns 91 years old today.
Happy birthday to Thelma Keogh. She's celebrating her 93rd birthday. Happy 95th birthday to Marie Oxford of Corner Brook. Love from family and friends. Happy 94th birthday to Ida Sullivan of Calvert. Wishing Mary Whalen a very happy 96th birthday. And birthday greetings going out to Sadie Pritchett of Gambo. She turns 90 on Sunday.
Happy 95th birthday to William Hollett of St. John's, now living in CBS. Wishing Olga Spurl of St. Philip's a very happy 93rd birthday today. Happy 90th birthday to Ray Reed of Dildo. Happy 102nd birthday to Rita O'Brien of Cape Royal, now living in Fermuse. She's celebrating coming up on Monday. Happy 94th birthday today to Lydia Hiscock of Victoria. And happy 90th birthday tomorrow to Donald Freak of Boyd's Cove.
Well, congratulations to everybody, and you've got a nice weekend, at least part of the weekend anyway, to enjoy. We've got temperatures climbing as we head into Sunday, although it does look like we're going to see some rain move in for parts of the province. We're looking at about 5 degrees in St. John's under a mix of sun and cloud, but the rest of us will see some rain and even some snow, mixing with some snow for parts of the northern peninsula as we head through Sunday. Now, as we get into Monday, temperatures are going to stay mild again, but we are looking at that potential for some showers through central. You're looking at either partly cloudy or cloudy skies through the day, and then temperatures up across Labrador will sit between 1 and 3 degrees, a little cooler for the north and the west. You'll hover around 0 degrees, and you're still looking at some snow sticking around as well through Monday. Long range forecast looks like we should stay above 0 as we get into Tuesday, Wednesday as well, just barely, but it does look like we'll see that potential For some flurries returning, overnight lows will dip back into the minus single digits. And then for central Newfoundland, you're looking at some flurries by the time you get into Tuesday. You'll mix with some potential for some showers on Wednesday, and this will fall as flurries for you in western Newfoundland. Your temperatures will be hovering between 0 and 3 degrees as we get into midweek next week. Now taking a look at the forecast for eastern Labrador, flurries or light snow the story until you get into Tuesday and Wednesday. Again, temperatures for you will be above 0 until you get to Wednesday. And then for western Labrador, you're looking at some flurries and minus single digits. Great shot of the blue sky in Parsons Pond. Thank you to John for that shot. If you have any weather photos, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Wow.
Just want to get right in there, you know?
We're getting some nice photos.
Yeah, we certainly have. And Chrissy, it was so nice to have you on the show tonight. It's been a while since we've done a show together. So.
It's been a minute. It's been a slice, ladies. Thanks so much.
Great to have you, and hope everyone out there has a great weekend.
Good night.
Good night.